Now, those of you that follow me on here, watch my videos on here, maybe follow me on Twitter, know that I'm a Cubs fan. Know that in no way, shape, or form can I be construed as or thought of as a White Sox fan. And the reality is I just really don't care about the White Sox one way or another. That's not disrespectful. That's just reality. Why would I care about the other Chicago team when they play in the American League? The Cubs play in the National League. Like, the only time you really care about them is if they play each other in the regular season in a crosstown classic, or if they were ever someday to face off in the World Series. Other than that, why would I care? I guess that's one of those stupid kind of Chicago things. Now, overwhelmingly, it feels like more so White Sox fans are more concerned and obsessed with Cubs and Cubs fans, which I do. It's kind of that second city mentality mindset, that small market mindset that permeates from the ownership of that organization, and plenty on that in a moment. But I just don't get it. Like, who cares? Like, it is what it is. But when I look at the White Sox in 2020, a couple of things were really obvious to me. That general manager Rick Hahn had built a young and exciting core of a team that is positioned to be very close to taking that next step of potentially being a championship squad. Like, maybe for White Sox fans starting to get some visions of 2005 dancing in their heads, but maybe also knowing that, hey, it would have been nice if it was this year, but maybe it's still a year away. You got to get another arm in that rotation. You got to do one or two other things, and maybe you could really seriously entertain that. But there's no question, a young, exciting core whose best baseball is ahead of them. You also know, if you're a Sox fan or just a baseball observer in general, that Rick Renteria was not good at his job. It's like, it wasn't for the Cubs. Like, there's a reason the Cubs eventually moved on from him, brought in Joe Madden. There's a reason the White Sox got rid of Rick Renteria. He's just not good at his job. And he mismanaged several situations during the course of the season. But now that you've done that, you got to a certain point, but you felt like manager was one of those areas that was holding you back, and it absolutely was. Let's be clear, it absolutely was. You know, the White Sox wanted to go out there and find themselves somebody that could help get this team over the hump. And, you know, when you're thinking about guys like, maybe it's an A.J. Hinch, maybe it's an Alex Cora, maybe it's somebody that actually has championship experience. Well, I guess they technically got somebody with championship experience. Because Reinsdorf gonna Reinsdorf. He just cannot quit this man all of these years later. It's one of those things that has stuck in Jerry Reinsdorf's crawl for over 3 decades. He viewed it as a mistake back then in the 80s, and now he has a chance to make history right. He's going to overrule his general manager. We all know that's what happened. We know this was Reinsdorf's call. He decides he's going to hire, of all damn people, Tony Buy Me a Drink La Russa. 76-year-old Tony La Russa is the guy that you want to bring in to connect with your young core when you're potentially thinking about having to go out in the open market and get 1 or 2 big names to help get you over the hump. Tony La Russa. Tony La Russa. Tony, buy me a drink, but you're not getting the wheel for me, La Russa. Now, just in and of itself, that's just stupid. Like, who the hell thinks it's a good idea to go out and hire a 76-year-old manager who has said some things from a political standpoint that are very likely to, hey, whether some of you that are watching this even agree with some of the things LaRussa says, I don't care. Like, that's whatever. The point being is you have to know the situation and environment that you're bringing a guy like Tony La Russa into. When you think about going out there and you're trying to appeal to Latin, Dominican, black players, what have you, even some of the white ones, they're going to look at a guy like La Russa and say, I want no part of that. I want nothing to do with that. And you saw the tweets by Marcus Stroman, and now he's actually taken the 1-year qualifying offer from the Mets to return in 2021. Now, maybe there were some concerns from him about a soft market, but the fact of the matter is, he decided to take the 1-year option instead of trying to come play for somebody like the White Sox, saying that no amount of money could give him the peace of mind required to play for a Tony La Russa. Like, just in and of itself, stupid, stupid, stupid. Why in the hell would Jerry sit there and try to undercut his general manager, Rick Hahn, who has assembled a nice young core, mind you, trading away the Fernando Tatis Jr. part. Everybody makes really dumb decisions at some point, but you better learn from them. But you got Eloy, you got Luis Robert, you got other guys, you got a really nice core on the south side. And you think LaRussa's the straw that's going to stir the drink in the right way. And all of this comes before the news talking about LaRussa and his February arrest for a DUI, which isn't his first one, by the way, hence why we call him Tony, buy me a drink LaRussa, but you're not getting the keys for me. I'm getting behind the wheel LaRussa. And that he was charged right after the White Sox hired him. And the White Sox guy as an organization coming out saying, we knew about it and we went ahead with it anyways. This is peak Reinsdorf incompetence and sheer stupidity. You may have felt in the 1980s that it was a mistake to fire Tony La Russa and move on from him. I get that. And it probably was at the time. But goddamn, son, that's 3.5 decades ago. Get the F over it. To me, there is no question. When you talk about worst owners in North American professional sports, Jerry Reinsdorf is at the creme de la creme, the absolute peak and top of that list. Now, surely you're going to sit there and talk about, well, what about Donald Sterling back in the day with the Clippers when you talk about James Dolan now? They had one organization that they ran into the ground. Jerry's done it with 2. He's done it with the Bulls, and he's done it with the White Sox. When I talk about the whole back and forth between Sox fans and Cubs fans, part of that manifest from that small market cheapskate ass mentality of Reinsdorf of always wanting to make excuses why the Cubs get more attention, the Cubs get more media love and more fanfare and da-da-da-da-da. And the fans eventually start buying into that crap because it's that Reinsdorf mentality. And all the while you're playing in the 3rd biggest city in the country, the 3rd biggest market in the country, and you want to sit there and act like you're a damn small market team. And you can sit there and talk about, well, they did win the World Series in 2005. They did. They absolutely did. But let's be clear, that was now a decade and a half ago. And you want to talk about the Bulls, you're going to say, well, they had to be doing something right. They did win 6 titles in 8 years in the 90s. You are absolutely right. But as the song goes, what have you done for me lately? That was 22 damn years ago, and it ain't changing anytime soon. All the while, when you look at the reality, the White Sox won 1 World Series and haven't come close to sniffing another one in the next 15 years. For the Bulls, they haven't really truly come close to sniffing another championship in over 2+ decades. He's the clown that allowed the Penguin Jerry Krause to power forward them into the freaking death and kill the dynasty before it absolutely needed to be killed. When you look at the modern reality, the here and the now, in the past 15 to 20 years, the only owner that you could throw up as saying they are on an equivalent level to Reinsdorf in terms of pure suckage is Jerry Jones of the Cowboys, period. And even that's not close. Because Jerry only screws up America's team. That's one. Reinsdorf's suck carries over to both teams. The Bulls and the freaking Southsiders. And now he's sitting there and making calls about who the next manager of the team's going to be. He's going to bring in the oldest manager in the league to manage his young core. Who the hell does that? Who the hell sits there and overrides their general manager, which is clear, even if Rick Hahn came out tomorrow on camera and said this was absolutely my decision and not Jerry Reinsdorf's in any way, shape, or form, we all know that's BS. We all know that's flat out not true. There is no way, and the Schleich Daddy means no way, that anybody would actually believe that. What the hell are you doing, Jerry? This is that old boys club mentality that doesn't win championships. It's just stunning to me. White Sox fans and even some of the national media are really taking them to task for this. And let's be clear, they should. They absolutely should. And that is even aside from the DUI charges from this year, just in terms of what the move represents. You're undercutting the general manager that has built a young core, a contending team, and you're not trusting him with the person that's supposed to report to him, that is supposed to manage the young core that he's put together. That is not a successful formula for any organization, period. That's stupid. The owner is the owner, yes, and you can make the argument that they have all the final say at the end of the day, and that's the way it is, and I understand that. When you're forking over the bucks and you're the one that's ultimately accountable and responsible for what happens in your organization, I get it. But you also have a hierarchy in place. And you have people that you allow do their job, and the job of a general manager is to build the team, to put the front office personnel into place, put the scouting departments into place, make the calls when it comes to free agent signings, be that primary point of negotiation and so forth. The general manager reports to the team president or the CEO or owner of the team, depending on the organization structure. That's how you do this. I'll tell you exactly what this reminds me of, what Reinsdorf's doing here. This is what you see for those of you that follow me here but are also wrestling fans. This has got Vince McMahon fingerprints written all over it. Like Vince has Hunter, and he has Stephanie, and he has Kevin Dunn, and he has all these other people that he really trusts. But at the end of the day, everything still has to get approval from Vince. Everything's got to funnel through Vince. And that is not a successful leadership organization or structure. In no way, shape, or form. And as a result, that's where you've seen the diminishing viewership of WWE manifest in recent years, because you don't have the appropriate checks and balances. You don't have the appropriate accountability or responsibility. Like, how the hell is somebody supposed to do their job well when you sit there and provide Vince with the script and he rips it up and writes it up and damn self? Nobody's going to succeed. You're hindering people's full potential. That's not leadership. That's not good organizational management. That's not good anything. That is ego, and that is straight up incompetence. And that's exactly what the hell you're getting out of Jerry Reinsdorf here. And the fact that they are continuing now to dig their heels in and refuse to admit their mistake. It is one thing to make a bad judgment call. It is another thing to make a mistake. It is yet another thing, and the worst thing of all is to make that mistake and not own up to it and move on from it and learn from it as quickly as possible. You have an out here. Fans aren't happy. Players aren't happy. You're seeing things like LaRussa apparently hasn't reached out to Tim Anderson. Why would you want to reach out to one of your best players when you've taken over the job? Who the hell wants to do that? This is your out. You've been given an out. This got out in the public. Reassess the situation. And frankly, if I'm Rick Hahn right now, I want no parts of this whatsoever. It's either Tony La Russa goes or I go. Period. Because I promise you, Rick Hahn probably wouldn't have to wait very long for somebody else to come in and hire him to be their general manager. He will have other options and other opportunities. There is no reason to have to tie yourself to this one. Because who the hell would want to work in this type of environment where one of the key things, like if this La Russa hire goes poorly, which most people would expect logically that it would, it's not Jerry Reinsdorf that's going to get his ass shown the door. It's going to be Rick Hahn. You talk about the ultimate in garbage. The person that might most directly impact your job security, future earnings potential, is the person that you don't have any say-so into who the hell gets hired. And now that it's come out that Tony still likes to be drinky behind the wheelie, but he's a Hall of Fame baseball person, so he's a big shot. He's a big deal. You want to be a big shot, as Roddy Piper would say. Like, here's your chance to move on. You want to bring LaRussa into the organization in some way to try and, say, hey, I overstepped here. I'm Jerry Reinsdorf, and I'm an idiot, and I'm a buffoon. I'll pay you some money. Stick around the organization, but we got to go with somebody else's manager. I can at least respect that and say, you know what? He's responding to the backlash. He realizes how stupid this is. Like, this doesn't need to be cancel culture type of stuff. Like, people make mistakes, and let's learn from them. The problem is Jerry Reinsdorf does not learn from his mistakes. He absolutely does not, and that's why the Bulls are a farce and a joke, and have been for years, and the White Sox have been a farce and a joke for years, and that's why, beyond a shadow of a doubt, Jerry Reinsdorf is the worst owner in North American professional sports, period. And if you throw out any other names in the comments section, you deserve to be ripped, because it is clearly obvious. What have you done for me lately? The current reality is Jerry Reinsdorf absolutely sucks. It's why both of the teams that he owns won't be championship contenders, real championship teams, anytime soon. It's because of his stupidity. Fire Tony La Russa is the only right course of action, the only decision to make, and the longer that Jerry persists in his stubbornness, the worse it's going to be for all parties involved.